June 17, 7 o'clock. Yesterday, I went through the May electric bill and worked through how many panels and battery needed for powering the house totally by solar and battery. Non-ideal condition, you are always forced to use grid. So I want to go through that because in my video, I said 0 peso electric bill. Is it possible? Yes and no. So I'll go through the math why yes and no happen. So to summarize the details. So May 2026, the energy usage was 608 kilowatt hour or 608,000 watt hour. So the daily average usage is 20,800 watt hour per day because that is divided by 30 days. So we know that one day is 24 hour. So we calculated or divided the 20,800 by 24 hours, which give us 877 watt average power continuous. So we kept to using 24 volts 100 amp hour. So we determined how many batteries. Actually, that is wrong. And how many batteries in parallel. So we determined that for 9 batteries times 2400 gives us 21,600 watt hour, which is slightly greater than 20,800 watt hour. That's the daily usage. We then determine how many panels of 610 watt to install. We know that 610 watt has an effective power in a 4.5 to 5 hour window. And so we determined 10 panels. However, in 2x5 configuration, so which is this, okay? So we series 5, we parallel them to give us what was it again? To give us 21,600 watt hour. So we then determined the solar panel configuration. Initially, we discussed about 10, 12, and ultimately decided to do 14 panels in a 2x7 configuration. So this is the configuration of 14 panels, okay, in this configuration. Now, I didn't draw this properly, but anyway, you get the picture. And then we series, what the heck is this? Okay, let me redraw this because I made a mistake. So I redrawn this thing. I made some mistakes. Anyway, like this, we series 7 panels, and then afterwards parallel. So I had to redraw that. Similarly, the batteries are in parallel and then connected. So there was some slight mistake there. So series, and then parallel going into the inverter. Now, so in this configuration where everything is powered to the house, then it's actually there is no grid use in an idle condition. However, things are non-ideal. So I'm going to reason out why we need to connect to the grid and we still have electric bill. So I redrawn this. So now I've added the house. So we're drawing 220. I mean, we have 220 going into the house and it's drawing 877 watt continuous. We now added grid, Iselco, into the inverter. So it's not always going to be 0 peso electric bill. There's always going to be a moment in time where we need grid from Iselco, grid energy from Iselco. So we then determine what are we are going to decide how much grid do we want to pay. So suppose we do. So let's go through the exercise of determining how much we're willing to pay for grid usage. So going back to the electric bill, so 608 kilowatt hour is 6,500 peso. So per kilowatt is 10 peso 70 cents. So if we look at, we're willing to pay 1,000 peso. So we say, okay, 1,000 peso divided by 10.7 is equivalent to 93 kilowatt hour. 500 is equivalent to 46.7 kilowatt hour. So what does that translate to? Like I said, at some point in time, grid will have to come into play. And so there might not be enough solar, not enough battery, or you can set the battery level to change into grid when the battery level is, which needs to be determined by experiment. So yes, you can do 0 peso. However, the battery level will be very low, and so your charge cycle, discharge cycle will be fairly high. So if you begin to use grid, then you can help prolong the life of the battery. So yeah, you could do 0 peso. There are consequences of the battery life being shortened. So if the battery level can be set and you're willing to pay 500, 1,000, 2,000, then you can prolong the life of the battery. So in short, 0 peso grid free is possible. You can set the inverter to be connected to grid Iselco, and then decide where the changeover from battery level to grid happens. And you say, well, okay, I can pay 1,000 to help with the battery life. So this is how you can determine the 0 peso or 1,000 or 500 pesos by setting the battery level at the inverter settings. You say, for example, you want the battery to be at 24 volts and then change over to grid. Or you can say, well, why not 23 and then change over to grid. So it's all predetermined. And then also the charging, you can say you don't want to use grid to charge the battery. You can set the inverter for that, only charge from solar. So that's how this cycle of 0 peso electric bill can be determined. I didn't really fully explain that in my initial video from June 16. Thanks for watching.